Is Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and Zelda and the Donkey Kong franchises, is he retiring? If he does, Nintendo is not going to be the same without him. But before we get to this video, let's get to the question of the day. Alright, so stay tuned to the end of this video to find out the answer to the question of the day. Alright, so I just read this little article about Shigeru Miyamoto, the very famous video game, what would you call him? A head of Nintendo? The man behind Nintendo? He's become kind of the, I mean, he's a star, you know, he's sort of become a Bill Gates type of character. I consider him like the Vince McMahon of Nintendo, of video games. He is that one figure that is like, he's behind this massive empire that has spanned decades. You know, he's been around at least since like the 80s in the industry. And both of them, Vince McMahon and Shigeru Miyamoto, have dominated the video game business and have, you know, laid the foundation for the future of what the industry will become. You know, an iconic figure. Basically, this article talked about how, you know, he's turning 61 this year, 2013, and he's kind of preparing his company to, you know, when he's gone, when he's moved on, maybe when he retires and after that. Alright, so for example, he's talked about how what I'm doing is pretending like I'm not working on half the projects that I would normally be working on to try to get the younger staff to be more involved. And this actually has nothing to do with any kind of retirement planning or anything of that sort. It's really more of simply the fact that people have a tendency to always look to the person that gives them direction. And really, for a long time, I've been thinking that we need to try to break that structure down so that the individual producers that I'm working with are really taking responsibility for the projects that they're working on. I mean, Miyamoto can say whatever excuses he wants. He can try to, you know, oh, it's not retirement plans and blah 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 blah. I don't know how much he's involved. I don't know how much he wants to be involved with the video game industry, you know, as much as he does for the rest of his life. Does he still want to be in Nintendo and be a part of it and be a part of the Mario movement and like all these different projects of Nintendo? Does he still want to be behind that? Does he still want to be involved in the gaming industry? And if he is doing things of that caliber, he's still involved in many projects, he probably doesn't even want to leave. You know, yeah, I mean, he's become this figure where he's got all the little ideas and the projects and, you know, he's behind it. Nintendo won't be the same without him, and I can't really imagine Nintendo without him. But again, who knows what's going to happen when he's gone? Like, who knows what kind of people that will take over after he leaves the company or he retires? You know, who's going to take over and kind of be that the second or the next generation of, you know, Nintendo, the lead of Nintendo, the person who's behind everything. The truth is, I mean, I don't really know that much about his life, aside from the fact that he decided to get into the gaming industry. I think it was in the late 70s or early 80s, and then by the time that Nintendo was on a roll with the NES, and that was it. Mario came out, and his games started to get really popular, and that was it. Nintendo was on fire up to that point. But the thing is, I don't know about his background. I don't know anything about his life, his bio, you know, his childhood, the way he grew up, the things that influenced him as a kid, and all these different things. I have no clue. Because he's a Japanese figure, maybe in Japan he's a lot more culturally relevant in terms of, he's relevant all over the world, but he's more of a revered icon there, where people know him, his life, etc. I've never seen like a documentary or a, you know, any kind of TV specials behind Shigeru Miyamoto specifically, detailing his life and things like that. Not that, you know, people behind video games get that much press to begin with, and time on TV, and you know, their life is just consistently talked about. You know, we're not talking about Hollywood actors here, and you know, even politicians that people will make autobiographies and, you know, biographical fucking documentaries based on, you know what I mean, detailing their lives. We don't know shit about Shigeru Miyamoto. The average gamer doesn't really know much about him, except that he's the guy behind Nintendo. I mean, he's the Nintendo person, you know, he's behind Mario and Zelda and all these different characters. But we still don't even know what he actually does as, like, I don't know what he does behind the project. Is he behind everything creative-wise? Is he behind the game design, the level design, the fucking character design, everything behind it? Or is he just kind of the business face of the company? Is he just a guy to, you know, if he wants to deal business, for example, in the United States, and he's going to be the guy that they put out there as the guy to advertise everything, and you know, like E3 and all these appearances, like he's the dude that will, you know, he's the guy with the money to kind of bring everything and advertise all that shit. But as far as creative-wise, like, oh, let's have a new IP, like, you know, let's say Pikmin or some shit like that. Like, was he behind Pikmin? You know, was he behind fucking Super Metroid? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't fucking know, and I really don't even... I was never really curious about it, but the fact that they're talking about his retirement now, it's like, oh shit, Shigeru Miyamoto. Now, it's like, now I'm curious about his life. Like, what is this dude about? Like, this guy is a fascinating guy. He's no less interesting than somebody like Bill Gates, or fucking... Yeah, I keep mentioning Bill Gates. There's other guys, like even his fellow video game peers, you know, the people that started video game companies and became popular because of it. Romero, you know, certain big names like that, that they started something revolutionary. And I would even arguably say that Shigeru Miyamoto is the biggest single celebrity icon in gaming, like as far as a recognizable face, his name and all of that. Like, he is that dude. He is that single guy that you can look at and go, wow, that guy defines video games. But I think the problem too is that he is getting old. I mean, the guy's in his 60s, and it's almost like, how much more can you how much more projects can you work on before you are burnt out and tired and don't want to do it anymore? You know, I mean, people have criticized that the Mario games have grown stale, and, you know, just the same things over and over again. There's not much innovation anymore. They always have to rely on these fucking characters. Like, you think about Mario. These characters have been around for such a long time. Donkey Kong is another one, where they've become part of popular culture, but you kind of also wonder how long they're going to be around, because these characters tend to die out too. You know, I can see a future, maybe not 10 years from now, because 10 years is that's fairly close. I would say, you know, 100 years from now, maybe even 50 years from now, 50 to 100 years. Is Mario still going to be relevant? Maybe not. Maybe he'll just disappear. He'll stop making Mario games. You know, obviously long after Miyamoto is gone, and maybe Nintendo has become a different company, if Nintendo's still around as a company. You think about the future that way, you know, that really long-term, really, like, far into the, you know, 200 years from now, is fucking Nintendo even going to be around? I don't know. Probably not, you know what I mean? These iconic characters that we all grew up on, and for us, it's so easy to visualize it into, because we know Mario, we grew up on that, it's part of our childhood, it's part of our culture, it's part of, you know, our gaming, our experience. Mario, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Legend of Zelda, that's part of our fucking psyche, our entertainment. But 100 years from now, are they still going to be around? Because if you take a look at entertainment 100 years in the past, maybe not even less, you know, maybe 80, 70, 60 years in the past, a lot of characters die out. A lot of characters are irrelevant. A lot of characters are just kind of dead and buried and long gone. I mean, there's so many, for example, like cartoon characters that are no longer relevant, that are no longer popular, no longer famous. Even characters like Felix the Cat. Is anybody familiar with Felix the Cat? You know what I mean? You might have heard of the name, you might have seen the character, but it's like, you've never seen anything about it. You've never seen a cartoon or any fucking thing, Felix the Cat. Like, even Mickey Mouse, you know, they've tried to fucking... Not even, Mickey's still relevant, but Mickey is like from the fucking, he is an old character too, like he's been around for a long, long time. But even younger kids, Mickey is more of a tradition because of the whole Disney shit. Disney is a really powerful empire. So maybe Mickey is not the best example. Somebody like Mighty Mouse, you know, Mighty Mouse is another character. There's another fucking, you take a look back, even fucking, I would even say the Flintstones. Like, the Flintstones is no longer that relevant, you know. Okay, yeah, I grew up on the cartoons, and they still showed it when I was growing up in the 90s, but it was like a lot of reruns from, like, the old days, like the fucking 60s and shit, like, just old stuff. They don't really have a lot of Flintstones-related stuff anymore. They don't have movies anymore, you know, they used to have movies. But it's just, that franchise is no longer relevant to young people. Like, it's phased out. Like, if I say Flintstones to a 5-year-old kid, he's gonna be like, yeah, what are you talking about? Other characters like Astro Boy, you know, Astro Boy is another character, the Japanese cartoon manga character, I believe, or was he originally a manga? Yeah, I mean, Astro Boy was another one of these things that was popular in his day, you know, one of the most iconic, you know, fucking cartoon characters ever, but Astro Boy hasn't been as relevant. They made a recent movie about him, you know, they've had some video games here and there, but he's not nearly as relevant as he used to be. And I think Mario might go the same way. Mario and Luigi and all these other characters that will become just completely fucking like, wow, irrelevant in 2120. Like, who cares? Like, that's 100 years ago, you know, Mario doesn't matter. Like, who cares? That's such an old school name, like Mario. It's just a thing of the past. Like, wow. Alright, so this was the answer to the question of the day.